Today's video, I'm going to show you how to finish your workpiece with polyurethane. I'm going to kind of give you a step-by-step guide, follow me through how I finish this tabletop. Before we get into that, I want to give you some quick basics to your polyurethane. So whenever you go to the big box store, you're going to see two types. You're going to have oil-based and you're going to have water-based. So your big differences that you're kind of looking at there are oil-based is going to be a little stronger once it sets up, but it will change the color of your workpiece. It's oil-based, so it'll always make it a little more yellow. So I've got this barn door here that I finished with the oil-based, and you see that it's obviously more yellow than this tabletop I've got here that I finished with water-based. So that's your big difference. You also have a difference of dry time. So the water base is going to dry quicker, which means you get more coats on. Because if you've worked with polyurethane, you know the worst thing about it is the time. It takes days to get the amount of coats on that you know you need for a tabletop or something when you're using oil base. So it's kind of really nice to get more coats on in a day. Now, as far as your application of it, which we'll go through that as I walk through here, but quickly, you've got obviously the cans of the liquid that you'll use for your rollers and your brushes. Both of them will have a spray. So I absolutely recommend spray, especially for smaller projects. I'd probably use the spray all the way through just to make it easy. But definitely for your last few coats of finish, I always spray just because I'm wanting to get a nice even layer on at that point. Now for the oil, it does have a nice option of a wipe-on poly, so it's just going to be a more gel-like option that you're able to wipe on. Especially good for obviously table legs and chairs for spots where if you try to brush it on, you might get drips. So you'll wipe it on. Kind of your first question you'll probably look at is when and why do I work with polyurethane as opposed to any of the other finishes we've got out there? I would say your number one finish for pine, if you're using pine, that's your main thing, will be polyurethane. Pine's a soft wood. If you've ever worked with it, you know it gets easily dinged. It shows all kinds of marks on it. So polyurethane, the way it actually works is that it'll set a layer on top and harden. So if anything does hit it, one, it's hard. Hopefully it doesn't do any damage or scratches. But if it does, it's not actually hitting the wood, so you're able to refinish. All right, enough of that guy. Let's hop into the actual project. Before you apply any finish, you'll want to try to get all the dust off the project. Shop vacuuming is a great way, and then you'll see here I wipe it down with mineral spirits just to get any little bits of dust that I might have missed. I always start with the underside of the project. The first coat I'm going to roll on, and I'm going to use the water-based polyurethane here. To help avoid drips down the side, you'll see here I roll it back and then go forward. Between coats, I like to wrap the roller or the brushes in a rag with mineral spirits and put it in a bag. If you get the spray cans, be prepared to fight for your life to get the lid off. I had one final coat of spray on the bottom, then I call in the boss lady to help me flip the table so we can start working on the top. I start the finishing process the same as I did on the underside, but I pay special attention when using the mineral spirits because it'll show any defects or any misglue spots in the wood. That will allow me to fix them before we put any finish on. I forgot to video the first coat, but I rolled it on just the same as I did the underside. After I let that coat dry for about 2 hours, I sanded it at 320 grit and then just wiped all the dust off. I usually do 1 or 2 layers of rolling or brushing on, but after the first layer I felt like it was thick enough, so I moved on to spraying. At this point I just repeat the steps of sanding, spraying, sanding, and spraying, usually adding about 5 or 6 layers of spray. A little trick of the trade is to use a brown paper bag to wipe down your final coat. This will also polish your project, so the more you do it, the more shine it'll bring to the polyurethane. If you enjoyed the video, then please help the channel by liking and subscribing. If you have any questions or if I missed anything, please leave in the comments.